Good afternoon. Welcome to the August 6th, 2021 version of News from the Front Lines of Business by D.W. Huff Consulting. All right, welcome to this week's edition here. It's Friday once again, and it looks like we've all made it. So here we are coming at you again here from the downtown central business district of Chalmette, Louisiana. So it's August 6th, 2021, and this week's Fun with Numbers is number 274. So, we talk a lot in our planning, and just about in all cases we use, $1 million as kind of our target net worth, and so that's one number. But this other number we see here, this 274, has to do with what it takes to make six figures in a year. So earn $100,000 plus. So they break it down into $274 a day. And in this meme here, to go into breaking down, if you're a self-employed person selling certain products, just kind of, it shows you how not a whole lot of, huge sales, if you do a small amount consistently, can still get you to your six-figure number. So, interesting statistic there. I guess I never really thought of it this way. But I guess also another consideration here is 274, but that's considered in 7 days a week. So, in order to do that, you don't get to take any days off. But in any case, I think we see here that it's very attainable. If you've got a side hustle or a business to get into that six-figure range. So news from the front here. So kind of big news that took place yesterday on the employee retention tax credit. We see there's a few things that needed some clarification, and there's a new notice, this 2021-49 that came out that clarifies a few things. Not quite in the way that we would like, unfortunately. In particular, there was a question about owners of a business. So, the way it was before, they left it very ambiguous. So they excluded spouses and children and relatives of an owner, and that was, kind of made sense. But the language didn't really seem to exclude the owner themselves. So in the accounting profession, people were kind of torn between whether or not, when you're calculating the qualified wages for purposes of this, $5,000 per person credit in 2020 or $7,000 per person in 2021, whether or not you included the owner's wages in that or just the other, rank and file employees. Well, they've clarified that now. So pretty much any family member, any owner that's more than 50% is now phased out of it. So not great news, but they did clarify a few other things about whether or not a business was shut down. So some of the other requirements actually seem to be a little bit easier to qualify now for in 2021. So we are going to spend a little time reading that. It's a pretty lengthy, very, very boring document, but we're going to dig into that over the next day or so. If we see some more opportunities, we'll be sure to post it. Additionally, as we definitely passed the mid-year mark here, but gross profit margin management. So this is a discussion that came up in a meeting this week with a business client. I was looking at QuickBooks and our profit and loss and things of that nature. I guess as a business owner, you wear a lot of hats, and it's hard to, I guess, when you're looking at those numbers, to determine what is it that you need to focus on every day in order to drive everything else in your business to kind of work. And the discussion was, what is gross profit? So, gross profit is what you sell divided by what it costs to make whatever it is you sell. So we're going to, for purposes of this analysis, we're going to disregard things like overhead expenses, rent, utilities, and we're just going to look at the gross profit. So if you're making donuts, we're going to look at how many donuts you sold, what the dollar amount was in total of all the sales that you generated, what it cost you to make those donuts, and when you net those two things together, you're going to come with a gross profit number. And that's what we're going to want to control. Everything starts with gross profit. So I think we had a good breakaway with that one discussion, but that's what we need to focus on. So if you're not making the right amount of gross profit on whatever it is you're selling, or heaven help you if you're actually losing money, you have no possibility of making any kind of profit when everything else comes into play with the overhead type expenses. So gross profit margin is something you could watch every day. Be careful about your selling price. Be careful about the amount you're spending on a different, say, ingredients or whatever goes into your product. And if you watch those things more closely, it's only a couple things that you have to kind of keep an eye on, and everything else will fall into place if you hit sufficient profit margin. So, more food for thought. Also today, it's Friday, so we're driving around, and here in St. Bernard Parish, we see that the schools are back in session, as noted by the high amounts of traffic everywhere. Worth mentioning the American Opportunity Tax Credit and Education Savings Account. So, as college comes into play, and as we getting prepared for that, just keep in mind that American Opportunity tax credits could be as much as $2,500 per student as a credit. So, very valuable. And there's ways to qualify for that, income limitations and things of that nature. So, touch base with this if you're not aware of how to qualify for that. But if you have any kind of college expenses, you might be eligible for that one. And of course, using education savings accounts to help you along the way, because most of those have tax deferred methods of saving here, so where you can put sock away some money, so when the time comes, it's not too much of a shock to your system. So anyway, so that's that. And as I mentioned last week and the week before, I've been reading up on some lessons here from some of the Stoic philosophers in ancient Rome and Greece. And one message that jumped out at me today in one of my daily readings here is just the ability to, realize that you're going to have moments when you are wrong about things, and kind of learn from your mistakes, admit it, and move on, and don't, try to make things right. This is a very thoughtful reading here. They go back to some of the other examples of ancient Stoicism, Marcus Aurelius and Seneca, and how these people were in certain situations, and in some cases they did it right, in some cases they did it wrong, with kind of cutting your losses, admitting you were wrong, and then taking action. But clearly, I think this is something that we don't want to let our pride get in the way of making a decision when we're going to change. Even if it looks like we're being wishy-washy, I think as you learn more, and you have more knowledge, your decisions and feelings and beliefs may change, and that's okay. So I don't know, interesting, but I'll be reading a lot more of that and letting you know what I find out. So that is it for this week. Have a good weekend here, and we'll see you hopefully next week here. Another profitable week here in the business world. So have a good weekend.